idea of exclusive ummah. Why Maududi and Qutb come strongly? Because they come from that tradition. Naturally, in that context of anti-colonialism, the idea of inclusive ummah is regarded as fraternizing with the enemy.
Thank you once again everyone for tuning in to another book discussion. Alhamdulillah, today we are joined by none other than Dr Haniff Hassan. Welcome Dr Haniff, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to interact with your viewers.
No, thank you so much for your time. So, Alhamdulillah, today we are here to discuss Dr Haniff Hassan's latest work, Tafsir Thematik Erti Ummah dalam Al-Quran. Just a quick thank you to Firdaus as well. This book is published by Firdaus and they have let us use their space today for this book discussion. So may Allah bless their work as well. Then kita go right into it.
Okay.
So, congrats once again, Dr. Haniff.
Thank you.
Initially, I reached out to you to discuss one of your earlier books, Civil Disobedience in Islam, and also, if you can see the table, these are all books by Dr. Haniff or translated by him. And I also wanted to discuss this book with you, because just trying to get into the discourse on extremism in Singapore. But then Dr. Haniff suggested that we cover this book that he just released with Firdaus. And after reading through it, he kindly sent me a PDF. And after reading through it, this is definitely one of the best works for us to go through on the topic, inshallah. So, Dr. Haniff, going right into it, Tafsir Thematik Erti Ummah. What inspired you to write this book, or when did you begin thinking about this discourse?
First of all, let me give the meaning of inclusive ummah and exclusive ummah used in my book, because this is the term that may appear in our engagement. So let us be clear about the meaning first. So at the later stage, I don't have to repeat. I just use the terminology, so the meaning is understood already. What I mean by inclusive ummah is the understanding of ummah or social identity that includes non-Muslim. For example, ummah encompasses of Muslim and non-Muslim, or a social identity like Singaporean, where Muslim and non-Muslim share that identity. Then what is exclusive ummah? Exclusive ummah refers to the idea of ummah that only basically include Muslims and exclusively for Muslims. So ummah without the non-Muslim component of it, that is exclusive ummah. To whom I write this book for? At least to me, I have 4 different groups that I hope to reach out with my book. The first group is the people who are comfortable with the idea of inclusive ummah. They view it positively. Why? Because they have been socialized with the idea. However, this group of people, they take it inclusive ummah, the idea of inclusive ummah positively, purely on rational argument. They don't really look into the theological aspect about this idea of inclusive ummah. And they are Muslims. So I hope to contribute to them to enrich and enlighten their existing idea, the existing notion of inclusive ummah that they have in mind, that they are comfortable with. That Islam Islam has interest on the issue of inclusive ummah and provide guidance for Muslims on the issue. So we hope we can understand Islam beyond the ritualistic aspect. So that is one group that I hope to reach out. Another group that I hope to reach out refers to Muslims who are comfortable with this idea of inclusive ummah also. And they are interested to know the theological foundation, the theological basis of it too. But they don't have it, or they are not exposed to it. But more important is that I found in the society, some of this group, they got confused and upset or defensive when they are challenged by fellow Muslims who view otherwise, who frown upon the idea of inclusive ummah, because they think inclusive ummah may lead to dilution of faith, may lead to basically may affect a Muslim's religiosity. You know, they view that if Muslim mix around too much with non-Muslim, the religiosity of non-Muslim will eventually affect them. So to them, it is best that Muslim should be a distant away, or then the issue of the notion of ummah is put forth that only exclusive for Muslim. So that is the second group that I hope I can reach out to give them a boost of confidence and intellectual resilience that indeed what they are comfortable with is basically endorsed and recognized by Islam. So they have the argument to basically to engage the other party and don't get confused. At least for themselves, they don't get confused anymore. They don't live with dilemma anymore. That what they think is positive, but they cannot defend it with strongly and confidently with theological argument. So that the third group that I hope to reach out is those probably non-Muslims who have negative views towards Islam. They see Islam as an exclusivist religion. Islam as anti-non-Muslims, and Islam being a supremacist religion. Probably because they have limited knowledge about Islam, or they are exposed to many misrepresented idea of Islam out there, be it in real life or online, be it for Muslims or non-Muslims. So I hope to reach out to these people to basically offer some correction to their misunderstanding about Islam. The fourth group is that I hope I can reach out to Muslims who, the one that I mentioned, who regard the idea of exclusive Muslim as something that is abhorrent and an aberration from Islamic tradition. So they consider it something that is forbidden and Muslim must not have that idea. So I hope I can reach out to some of them that can give and open their horizon, that there is a different way to look at this thing, and a different perspective even from the ulama that I want to share with them. So at the very least, what I'm writing in this book is not calling Muslims to abandon the idea of exclusive ummah, but to harmonize, to accept both, because this is something that is Islam recognized and also something that is natural for men to live in this world.
Understand. Thank you so much. Maybe we can go straight into the method that you use, tafsir thematic or tafsir Maududi.
Okay.
Maybe you want to explain a bit on the method.
Okay, about this book, what does this book offer to the readers? First, I consider this book falls under the category of Islamic contemporary issue genre. Why? Because the book deals with contemporary issues, which are firstly the issue of the meaning of ummah in the Quran and among Muslim scholars throughout throughout the history. Secondly, it deals with the issue of social identities. What kind of social identities that Muslim can have, whether exclusive, inclusive, or both. And thirdly, it deals with the issue of Muslim and non-Muslim relationship, be it in Muslim majority country or Muslim as minority in non-Muslim countries. Then how do I go about it? I make a review of Quranic verses that contains the word ummah, from which I hope to derive an authentic meaning and understanding directly from the Quran. Then I make a review of works from various scholars, contemporary and classical, on the topic, from which I try to understand their perspective and the discourse about the issue. Then, then from there, I derive three important points. The first point is that, which is the point of my book, my argument, that Islam recognize and endorse exclusive and inclusive ummah both. Muslims need not to choose either one. Secondly, we can harmonize exclusive and inclusive ummah. We need not to see each one as rival to the other. Why? On the basis that on the basis of social studies that says that it is natural for men to have multiple identities. And indeed, if we observe, we individually and others, all of us has multiple identities. Being son, being father at the same time, being husband, being wife, being lawyer, being professional, being volunteers, all those identities. And why not we have same identities like Muslim Ummah and exclusive Ummah and inclusive Ummah at the same time. Now, then the third argument that I make is that in the case when there's a clash between the interests of Muslim Ummah and exclusive Ummah, Islam allows flexibility for Muslim to give priority to the one that gives greater maslahat. Rather, this is different from the opinion that says that when there's a clash between exclusive Ummah and Muslim Ummah, we are obligated to always give priority to exclusive Ummah, which I beg to differ. Because I find there is a flexibility in Islam to allow different priority looking at the situation that one has to face.
Thank you, Dr. Haniff. And for those who are listening, I think it's important to note as well that Dr. Haniff here, he's also writing this with complete congruence with the life of the Prophet ﷺ and the relationship between Muslims and non-Muslims that he facilitated as well. And Dr. Haniff, he also wrote this book. Translated this book. He translated a work by Sheikh Ali Jum'ah, the former Mufti of Egypt, where he breaks down the 4 different models of community. That was adopted by the Prophet ﷺ. And he weaves this into the book as well. So this is not something that is simply a modern discourse. This is rooted in the Islamic tradition. Doctor, maybe you can just read from the book. And also I forgot to mention, Dr. Haniff wrote this book in Malay and he agreed to do this interview in English. So maybe we will probably switch between the languages if needed as well.
Okay, just to interject there, I actually wrote the same topic in English.
Okay.
I've submitted to a publisher for publication. They are now in the process of reviewing it. I hope that they will approve the article for publication, and I hope when the English version of this book is published, I would share basically to you and to be shared for the public.
Okay.
Because I know one of my target audience to reach out is non-Muslims,
Yes.
so they cannot read in Malays. So to be fair to them, then I rewrote the same material in English, then get it published for public access.
Yes. We'll be looking forward to that. Sure. And Dr. Haniff, that point that you mentioned about non-Muslims feeling uncomfortable with the Ummah exclusive concept, that is something that is very real because just the week before you sent me this PDF, I came across an article by a non-Muslim that questioned this entire notion and said that it's justified for non-Muslims to be wary of Muslims if concepts like al-wala wal-bara is perpetuated by strong proponents of Ummah exclusive. So that's just one aspect of the many layers that Dr. Haniff's book covers in one shot. So Dr. Haniff, I just want to read from the book. Here in page 23, you mention antara contoh-contoh tokoh yang menyokong konsep ummah eksklusif adalah Syed Qutb dan Maududi, dan contoh kumpulan pula ialah Hizbut Tahrir, Al-Qaeda dan IS. So without casting aspersions on Syed Qutb and Maududi, because they are also great thinkers of Islam. Syed Qutb himself is a great mufassir of the Quran. So they had very strong Islamic movements that came after them that expounded on their ideas. And maybe you can take us through, Doctor, how their influence has allowed the Ummah exclusive concept to be the one that most Muslims throughout the world know nowadays.
Okay, first of all, let me clarify that when I mention both Syed Qutb and Maududi as an example of strong proponents of exclusive Ummah, that is not to disrespect them. But then again, being scholar and academia, it is our ethos. How much respect we give to any scholars, that we still have to apply some critical thinking and somehow, when necessary, disagree respectfully with them. So that is the also. So do not misunderstood me for casting doubt or questioning their credibility. So it's just something that they are respected figures, but there are things that I may disagree, especially on the issue of exclusive Ummah. But then again, if you are to try to understand them from where they come from, we may disagree, but we also may understand better why the idea comes strongly from them. So that is history. Now, if you talk about history, the history is very long, and I cannot say that I'm in position to explain the whole history. But let me share with you what I know for the contemporary aspect of the history, which is the past 100 years. For the past 100 years, I observed there are two waves of Islamic revivalism which affect Muslim Ummah and also Muslim in this region, which includes Singapore Muslim. The first wave was in the early 20th century. And the second wave was, in my observation, in my reading, was around in mid and late 1970s. Now, in the context of the first wave, early 20th century, Islamic revivalism injected the spirit of anti-colonialism among Muslims and galvanized Muslims towards independent struggle. So if we and this struggle requires some ideational basis to rally and mobilize Muslims for the cause. And naturally, one of the idea that is convenient and useful for the purpose is the idea of exclusive ummah. That we Muslims are one ummah. We must stand up against the non-Muslim or kafir colonial powers. So naturally, in that context, people will not basically comfortable with the idea of inclusive ummah, because that is regarded as fraternizing with the enemy. So from that aspect, then you can understand why Maududi and Qutb come strongly, because they come from that tradition. And the whole years of anti-colonial struggle, basically by Muslim scholars, contributes to the entrenchment of the idea of exclusive ummah in modern times. Now, even after independence, this idea maintained. Why? Because there's a worry of neo-colonialism. So there's this idea, the colonial power has left the Muslim country, they are independent, but they left behind things that perceived as neo-colonialism. So that maintained the idea, the entrenchment of exclusive ummah among Muslims, and continues until the arrival of the second wave in mid-70s and late 70s, I think late 70s, 1979, we witnessed the Iranian Revolution toppling down the secular government and basically the success or the glory of Islamic movement led by the Imam Khomeini. Now, here again, unfortunately, Islamic revivalism comes with strong flavor of anti-West. It's not anti-colonialism, but anti-West. But the anti-West eventually manifested among Muslims as anti-non-Muslim, all non-Muslims. Regardless whether that non-Muslims represent colonial power or not. For example, in Malaysia, it become anti-non-Muslim, then the Chinese non-Muslim also, even the Malays become not comfortable with Chinese. Why? Although China has never has history of colonializing Malay lands. So, but then again, it's because of the flavor that comes with the Islamic revivalism, that idea of exclusive ummah and negativity prejudice toward non-Muslim remain. So that is the unfortunate thing. Now, that is the history of exclusive ummah. Why it comes very strongly in the mind of Muslims, contemporary Muslims today, because of the history, there is history behind. How about the inclusive ummah? Now, the talking about inclusive ummah is also a very recent phenomenon. My observation, my reading, it can be traced to mid and late 1990s. This is the period where Muslim scholars, especially those who live in the West, discuss extensively about the need for special fiqh for Muslim minority in non-Muslim countries. Why? Because they recognize that the context and the realities of Muslim as minority in non-Muslim countries are very different from Muslims in Muslim countries. And the whole tradition of fiqh, classical fiqh, does not really offer a very coherent guide for Muslims, contemporary Muslims in non-Muslim countries. So they think that it's very important to develop that special fiqh to guide Muslims, minority, how to live in a non-Muslim countries comfortably. Now, that is the beginning. Later on, the idea expands to the question of can Muslim or should Muslim or how Muslim can integrate into the Western society. Here we can find in the discourse, Muslim scholars and thinkers start to coin the terms like being American Muslim, European Muslim, the title of Tariq Ramadan, then being British Muslim, being Australian Muslim, and they start to address the issue of what does it mean to be Muslims and a citizen of non-Muslim country. So then comes the issue of inclusive ummah. Start to basically to merge in the discourse, and it gets more traction and gets more important. Why? After the 9/11 and the emergence of Al-Qaeda and IS. Why? Because Al-Qaeda and IS seek to capitalize the idea of exclusive ummah ingrained in Muslim mind to polarize Muslim and Muslim relationship, with eventual objective to get Muslim, kill non-Muslims, anywhere, everywhere in the name of jihad. So here, the idea of basically promoting or introducing inclusive ummah to Muslim community, be it in Muslim countries or Muslim living in non-Muslim countries, become another tools to counter extremist propaganda by those extremist groups.
Thank you so much. So Dr. Haniff, the gist that you will get from Dr. Haniff's book is that ummah is not, the concept of ummah is not as definitive as we think it is.
Yes.
it's not as definitively exclusively Muslim as it's made out to be by the general discourse on the concept nowadays.
To add on, first thing is that for my book, I make conclusion that because the Quran provide diverse and multiple meanings of Ummah, and there is no evidence as far as the Quran and Hadith that basically inform us that Ummah used in the Quran is a technical religious terminology that should deviate from the normal linguistic use. It is unlike the term solat and zakat. You know, the term solat and zakat linguistically means different from theological use. Solat linguistically means doa, but solat in the Quran we cannot understand it only by doa. Otherwise, then we will teach Muslim to only perform doa, not proper solat. No, that solat in Quran is a very specific term. It means, solat the way we do solat, not just doa. And zakat linguistically is to mean purification of one wealth and oneself, one soul. But theologically, zakat is to mean something else, which is we have to pay certain amount of money from our saving of certain asset. There's no other meaning. That is the primary meaning of zakat in the Quran. It's not linguistic meaning, it is theological meaning. The fake aspect of zakat. We cannot understand otherwise. Otherwise, then Muslims someone will make a claim that no, zakat you don't need to give money, you just need to purify yourself only. If you have to sedekah, then you do sedekah, but no such thing as zakat as in the rukun Islam. So that is a misrepresentation of Islam, because the ulama has come to consensus that zakat in the Quran is to mean is a technical, it has technical meaning, not the linguistic meaning. But this is different from the term of ummah in the Quran. There is no evidence that Quran used the term of ummah for socio-political construct. And there is no prohibition for Muslims to basically to construct a different meaning of ummah as long it has basis in Quranic use. So that is the thing. And both exclusive and inclusive ummah has basis. The only thing is that in the tradition we tend to see it as two different concepts that rival each other. Which to me, why it should be like that? Where we can compromise and accept both, and basically, and also social studies inform us that is basically what human being is. That human being is always basically natural to have multiple identities.
Thank you. I think we just continue to read. I just want to read a bit from the arguments that you pose. So how Dr. Haniff structured it was he breaks down the concept of Ummah Exclusive and then Ummah Inclusive, and then he also lays out for us how the proponents of both concepts argue against each other. So here he says, antara kritikan utama para penyokong Ummah Eksklusif terhadap Ummah Inklusif adalah so these are the critics of the concept of the inclusive Ummah. So pertama, Ummah Inklusif telah mengkaburkan garis pemisah antara masyarakat Muslim dan bukan Muslim yang Al-Quran telah tetapkan dalam ayat-ayat seperti dalam surah Al-Baqarah, Al-Imran dan Al-Imran. Number 2, Ummah Inklusif merupakan satu penyelewengan agama yang serius kerana ia menyalahi apa yang dianggap sebagai prinsip akidah, iaitu prinsip al-wala' wal-bara', dan ia memudahkan jalan bagi Muslim untuk berasimilisasi ke dalam satu masyarakat sekular yang bercanggah dengan prinsip Islam sebagai satu cara hidup yang lengkap. Nombor 3, Ummah Inklusif mencair dan melemahkan identiti sosial Muslim yang sepatutnya tidak terbatas oleh bangsa, geografi, kewarganegaraan dan lain-lain identiti kelompok. Nombor 4, Ummah Inklusif bakal memburukkan lagi keadaan umat Islam sedunia yang mundur berbanding masyarakat bukan Muslim, khususnya kelompok Barat Kristian dan kelompok Yahudi. And the last one, Ummah Inklusif adalah satu bentuk minda yang menyerah kalah pada serangan liberalisme barat. So here, so Dr. Haniff, so when I read this, yeah, these are very robust arguments that you tackle it on. If you want to touch on any of the points here, I think al-wala wal-bara maybe is one, but you already covered it in the book, so I don't know if you just want them to read or.
Those are arguments for those for the proponents of exclusive ummah against inclusive ummah. At the other chapter, I provide answer to those arguments.
Yes.
So for those who are interested, how to tackle, because it seems all these one people, and in fact there are many people who basically perceive that the argument is a well put argument, has very strong foundation in Islam. People cited Al-Quran and then same Al-Quran support the idea. That is why I mentioned in the beginning of the interview about the group, they get confused when they get contested, challenged by this. And indeed, I mean, this argument can be very persuasive and basically shake someone's belief towards inclusive ummah. And if someone is strongly believe in it but don't have the theological argument, they can fall into a dilemma. You know? Then how do I live in this situation? And this can be a very stressful experience for Muslims living in a non-Muslim country like Singapore. So, but don't worry. If you are interested to know how to tackle this seemingly strong argument, you read the other chapter. I provide the answer there.
Yes.
But the only thing that I want to share here, just because I cannot answer every single one. One point. I give one example why basically that criticism basically has its own weaknesses and flaws. For example, the proponent put forth the argument of al-wala and al-bara, and they frame this idea of al-wala and al-bara as usuluddin. These are matters of usuluddin, principle of religion, where you cannot basically go against it. Otherwise, it will affect your faith, even basically nullify your faith, and you can go out of Islam because you go against al-wala al-bara. This idea maybe seemingly convincing, but the argument is flawed. Why flawed? Because al-wala al-bara indeed is a matter of interpretation and ijtihad. Among Muslim scholars, there are so many issues that Muslim scholars disagree within the concept of al-wala al-bara. For example, what does al-wala al-bara really means? That itself has a lot of discussion. And if it is a matter of principle, so there should not be a disagreement among Muslim scholars about the meaning of al-wala al-bara. Then, for Muslim scholars who agree on the meaning of al-wala al-bara, then there is a disagreement among them about to whom al-wala and al-bara applies to. For example, al-bara, we must disavow non-Muslims in terms of any positive relationship. But then again, Muslim scholars disagree about what kind of non-Muslims. Are all non-Muslims equal in the context of al-bara? No. There are many Muslim scholars who view that al-bara only applies to kafir harbi. Kafir harbi means that those kafir that are Muslims at war with them, like the mushrikeen during the period of the Prophet. So it's not applied to every single non-Muslim. Why? Because even the Prophet has differentiated approach in relationship with non-Muslims. Not the Prophet basically does not treat all non-Muslims the same. In fact, the Prophet even accept assistance, support from non-Muslims. And this is also can be supported even in the Quran, where Al-Quran says in Surah Al-Imran, verse 113, where Allah says in the Quran, Laisu sawa'an, they are not all the same. So why Muslims should treat all non-Muslims the same when the Quran clearly says that they are not the same? So that is one way to look at the issue of al-wala al-bara, which to me, one of the major argument used against inclusive ummah. So don't worry about that. There is an answer to the question that I hope I can give comfort and confidence for Muslims not to abandon exclusive ummah, but to harmonize the idea of inclusive ummah with exclusive ummah.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, very important point what Haniff mentioned. There is no issue with anyone who wants to hold on more strongly to either concept. But then that comes to the question, Dr. Haniff, why then is it important to socialize the inclusive ummah concept?
First, let me share with viewers that I'm not the person who this idea of socializing the concept of inclusive ummah is not something new, novel, or pioneer by me. What I do is a continuation of contemporary Muslim scholars' work. I can cite at least two Muslim scholars which are considered as giants among Muslim scholars in contemporary time. The first is Sheikh Ali Jum'ah, the former Grand Mufti of Mesir, of Egypt, who wrote the book. This book, originally written in Arabic, titled Four Models from the Prophet on Muslim non-Muslim peaceful coexistence. I translated to Malay, published, and there is an English translation also by someone else, and I was told that this English translation can be downloaded for free in the internet. You can just basically search the title, for example, the Prophet's Model and Guidance for Peaceful Coexistence. You should be able to get it free. Don't worry about copyrights, because if the publisher himself and the author himself give permission for the book to be basically distributed for free for public. So the Sheikh Ali Jum'ah in this book argues forcefully about inclusive ummah being the important part of the Charter of Madinah, where in the Charter the Prophet, the Sheikh made observation that the Prophet intentionally include non-Muslims as one ummah of Madinah. That is basically the finding of the Sheikh. Then the second Sheikh, the giant of the contemporary Muslim scholars, is Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayyah. Sheikh Abdullah bin Bayyah founded an organization he called Forum for Promoting Peace in Muslim Countries. And from the organization, he initiated an initiative he called Marrakesh Declaration, where in this declaration, he emphasizes of peaceful coexistence between Muslim and Muslims, and he promote the idea of inclusive ummah, even in Muslim countries. For example, in Egypt, or in the case of Egypt, Egypt is a Muslim country but also populated with significant Christian minorities, composed of mainly Copts. In fact, Copts is the native of the land and the Arabs also. But they become minority when Muslims take over Egypt during the medieval period, during the classical period. Now, after 911 and the emergence of ISIS, there is a tension in Egypt between Muslims and non-Muslims. And one of the tension is that it's because how do they relate to each other? And therefore, in order to promote and to basically to address this tension, and Sheikh Ali Jum'ah basically initiate Marrakesh Declaration, calling all Muslim countries, Muslim majority countries, to consider accepting and embrace the idea of inclusive ummah, where just like a nation where Muslim and non-Muslim share this identity, but in Muslim countries why not we embrace this inclusive ummah, where our ummah is to include our fellow non-Muslim citizens, and no more looking at them as the zimmi of the classical period. That is so. My work is a continuation to their work. The only thing is that I add on to the idea about harmonizing both identities rather than choosing and give preference to either one.
Yes.
Now, why is the need? First of all, I truly believe that the idea of inclusive ummah is strongly rooted to Islamic tradition. For example, in the history of Muslim living in Habsha under Christian king, then in Charter of Medina, and in various tafsir of ummah word in the Quran. So to me, there's a strong tradition to support inclusive ummah, but somehow throughout the history, this tradition get lost. For whatever reason, it get lost. I explained a bit about why it get lost in my book. Then I invite the viewer to read the contextual aspect, why inclusive ummah does not basically gain currency among Muslims even in contemporary times. But it has strong tradition, it has strong basis to our tradition. So to me, socializing this idea is not just theological pragmatism to gain certain benefit in contemporary times, but it is to be intellectually honest to our tradition, to reintroduce, reclaim back the lost tradition. But of course, the maslahah aspect do play part and major consideration in today's context in socializing and promoting the idea of inclusive ummah. Take for example, in Singapore, the largest segment of Muslim community is Malay, whether we like it or not. And Malay community in Singapore is recognized in the constitution as the pribumi, accorded with special privilege. Now, this privilege will only remain when there are significant number of Malays in Singapore. I mean, naturally, if there's no Malays or insignificant number of Malays in Singapore, there's no reason for the privilege to continue in the constitution. That is one aspect. Another aspect is that
why is it important? Why is it important to mention? Is it because you fear the number of Malays going down? Or?
No. The point is that if people think that exclusive ummah is the thing that's basically virtuous for Muslim, then there's this question about why should we stay in Singapore? Because it's difficult. We are not exclusive. We must live with exclusive ummah, and therefore we find place where we feel more belonging.
Go somewhere else.
We go somewhere else. Now, if we go somewhere else, then the number of Malay will dwindle. And at the end of the day, there's this question about our status as free people. So to me, at least to me, and I do believe that there are many people who are like me who want to stay in Singapore with my grandchildren, with my children. So I'm here to stay, in Singapore. And I don't think practically that the nature of the state and the demographic will change drastically in near future. We will remain minority, but there's a need for me to stay here. In addition to the theological reason why we should stay, because we have work here to do whatsoever. Now, if I and all my children, my grandchildren are to stay in Singapore, in country like this, then there must be ideational foundation, theological foundation that makes us comfortable with this environment.
More robust.
And therefore, the viable way to me is to harmonize, to theologically harmonize exclusive and inclusive ummah. Why? Because first, we become comfortable and confident that we live in this situation not as a matter of darurat. It's matter of, this is basically what Islam endorsed. Nothing darurat at all. And we are not continuously live on the basis of rukhsah. You know, rukhsah is basically a rule for emergency, not the original rule. Then it's also natural for us to live in that way. Why? Because social studies shows that multiple identities is something that is natural, and Islam as a natural religion that's basically in line with the natural state of man, surely accommodates multiple identities, which is inclusive and inclusive ummah at the same time. So that is my thinking. Why I should socialize this thing to the community to achieve that thing. First, to reintroduce the lost tradition. Secondly, is to meet the contemporary needs, the contemporary maslahah, that we can live here comfortably and stay here confidently as Muslims.
Yes, thank you. And I also don't want the listeners and viewers to trivialize this point that Dr. Haniff is mentioning, because I think it's not very uncommon to hear this sentiment from the Muslim community that we should move to a Muslim country, move to Malaysia, move to Indonesia. And Dr. Haniff, on the point of nationhood, I think Dr. Haniff in this book, he also touches a bit on the concept of the nation state. So this effort to socialize this idea is not simply to reconcile nation statehood, etc. It is something that is rooted in our tradition, and then he mentions the concept of the tribes that used to exist. So di zaman Nabi SAW, para sahabat hidup dengan pelbagai identiti yang mengikatkan mereka dengan kumpulan Muslim secara eksklusif dan dengan kumpulan bukan Muslim sekaligus. Hal ini dapat dilihat dari fakta yang mana para sahabat menggunakan gelaran-gelaran bersama nama-nama mereka seperti gelaran Al-Ghifari, Al-Ash'ari, Al-Rumi, Al-Farisi. Gelaran-gelaran ini mewakili identiti sahabat berkenaan yang mengaitkannya dengan satu kumpulan yang majoritinya bukan Muslim. Nabi SAW tidak pernah menegur amalan ini, memerintahkan sahabat untuk berhenti dari mengamalkannya dan memerintahkan mereka untuk berpegang pada identiti Muslim sahaja. So the Prophet SAW didn't ask the sahabat to stop using their tribal references. He didn't tell them to hold on to an exclusively Muslim identity. So this is again Dr. Haniff's effort to show that regardless of the world order, regardless of the political organisation that we find ourselves in, having multiple identities is something that is very rooted in our tradition.
That is basically one strong argument I put forward. For example, let's for example, Salman Al-Farisi. I mean, this is a very well-known sahabat, Salman Al-Farisi. Why Salman? Salman is name, Al-Farisi is his title, which is Salman the Persian. You know, Salman the Persian. Why the Persian? Because he's a Persian. He's not Arabs. He originates from Persia. Now, you know, Persia predominantly become Muslims, majority, probably 100 years after the death of the Prophet. So when Salman Al-Farisi lives during the Prophet time, walk around, Salman Al-Farisi, the Farisi is an attribute where he holds identity, where he holds sharing with non-Muslim, majority non-Muslim, and no condemnation, no rebuke from the Prophet. Hey Salman, we are Muslims only. Muslim is enough. The same thing is Suhaib Al-Rumi, Suhaib the Roman. The Roman become Muslims only after probably 50 years, 100 years, the death of the Prophet. So when Suhaib Al-Rumi live among the companion and the sahabah carry the title which he shared with non-Muslim majority without any condemnation by the Prophet, and that shows that the Prophet endorsed his companions to have to hold multiple identities as Muslims and as part of the tribe, member of a tribe where predominantly non-Muslims.
Thank you so much, Dr. Haniff.
So I mean, I as far as I'm concerned, I personally very comfortable to be known as Muslims and Singaporean.
Yeah.
Muslims, I'm Muslim Singaporean because I'm a citizen of Singaporean. So that is my shared identity with non-Muslim. I have no problem at all.
Thank you, Dr. Haniff. Maybe we can come to the conclusion and wrap up. Let me just find the part that I highlighted. Maybe we can just read the last page. Artikel ini menunjukkan bahawa kedua konsep ummah eksklusif dan ummah inklusif tidak perlu dianggap sebagai bercanggah, bersaing dan saling eksklusif. Dengan dipandu oleh pelbagai alat ijtihad, artikel ini menolak dakwaan ini dan berhujah bahawa tradisi ilmu Islam membenarkan dan mampu memberi pilihan yang lebih anjal kepada Muslim sesuai dengan konteks di mana masalah yang lebih besar wujud. And then the second half of the book is the tafsir from all the different books that we can read, tafsir books that we can refer to. So yeah, Dr. Haniff, thank you so much. I know you are a bit harder to reach nowadays, but giving us the time of day. One of the most prolific authors that is also one of the most low-key in Singapore. So thank you so much again for your time. Maybe we can meet soon for your next book launch, for the English version or anything. Yeah, until next time, inshallah we will see you, Dr. Haniff, again soon. And with that, please get your hands on the book as soon as you can. I'll put the link to purchase the book in the description or in the bio or whatever, inshallah. And the link to your blog also.
The link to my blog?
Yes. All the links to Dr. Haniff books can be found on his blog as well. So with that, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.